Mr. President, trustees, faculty and staff, family and friends, graduates, it is truly an honor for me to be here with you today to be receiving a degree from Elizabethtown alongside the graduates of the great class of 2017. For me, the honor takes on special significance because of Elizabethtown's motto, educate for service. It is one that resonates so deeply with me. Like those of you in the Momentum program, I was a first-generation college student. My father dropped out of high school at the age of 16 to join the war effort following the attack on Pearl Harbor. And my mother, who was married at 16, was forced to leave high school during an era when women weren't allowed to stay in school once they uttered their wedding vows. The summer I graduated from high school, I managed to escape the factory work I had done alongside my mother the previous summer only because I received funding under the Federal Comprehensive Employment and Training Act. At the time, CETA funds were reserved for high school students who were at risk of permanent unemployment due to extreme economic and social disadvantages. That fall, I continued to work 35 hours a week under a CETA grant while attending a local community college that had just opened up in the small rural town in which I lived. I had decided to forego a full scholarship to my state's flagship university in order to serve as a caregiver for my mother, by then a single parent who had become chronically ill. 2 years later, as you've heard, I transferred to Mount Holyoke College, and within another 2 years was off to Brown University for my PhD. When I graduated, I vowed that I would never forget the lessons I learned in that transition. Thus, throughout my career, I've been committed to promoting access to excellence regardless of socioeconomic background, to championing the centrality of liberal education, and to defending political scientist Benjamin Barber's notion of colleges and universities as civic missions. Barber's Jeffersonian contention is that neither education nor research can prosper in an unfree society. And schooling, he thinks, is society's most promising, perhaps its only way, of producing citizens who will uphold freedom. Elizabethtown takes seriously our nation's historic mission of educating for democracy. Yet beyond the public purpose of higher education, your education has served a personal purpose as well. My own experience is illustrative of a personal purpose of higher education. Among the courses I signed up for during my first semester of college was an American literature class. There weren't many students in the class. Most enrolled in courses that more easily translated into better jobs, or any job at all. One evening, my professor arranged for us to see a Hartford performance of All the Way Home, a Pulitzer Prize-winning play by Tad Mosel. I had never attended a professional production before, and Hartford was a world away, known only to me as the place my father traveled nightly on a third-shift bus to work as a welder at Pratt & Whitney. I remember piling into the car with my classmates, dressed in a blue velveteen jumpsuit. It was the 70s after all. Students, you need to think of the opening scene of Guardians of the Galaxy 2 to get this. And when the lights dimmed, I was transported. In the dark, perhaps especially in the dark, I felt a part of something important. Surrounded by classmates, I stared ahead at the stage and waited for what I could not yet see. After the play, the class went out for Chinese food and talked. The performance had raised so many big questions about faith, grief, and trust. We discussed the last act when a wife mourns her husband's unexpected death. "I hope he loved being," she said, recognizing the possibility that he never realized his own strength and potential. What that evening taught me, and why I remember it after all these years, is that we all have a right to experience being. We are all entitled to live in our strength. We all deserve opportunities to find our best and most authentic selves. Like home and family, your time at Elizabethtown and your shared traditions have created memories that will last you a lifetime. But it has also given you much more. Elizabethtown has set you on the path of finding your best and most authentic selves. The liberal education you have received has provided you with the skills necessary to become innovators in your own lives and to thrive in an increasingly globally interdependent world in which rapidly changing technology means rapid obsolescence. Just remember, you don't need to have everything mapped out at this point. And in this age of FOMO and FOBO, fear of missing out and fear of a better offer, there's a good reason to follow playwright Susan Laurie Park's advice when she says that, quote, instead of waiting for the perfect opportunity, you should work toward the realization that every opportunity is perfect. In taking advantage of life's opportunities, be sure to stay true to what matters most to you. And I was convinced that you all will after last night's wonderful baccalaureate service. As a philosopher, questions of life's meaning and purpose are central to my teaching and scholarship. Yet I remember the angst of my students in introductory philosophy during the final section of the course on death and the meaning of life. I began the discussion by asking them to tell me something, anything really, about their maternal great-great-grandmother. Of the hundreds of students I taught over the years, no one could ever even provide me with a name. Perhaps that would change now with the advent of Ancestry.com and other genealogical sites. But my point would be substantially the same. I said, so here's a woman who's responsible for your very existence, and you can't even tell me her name. If that's true, what hope is there 150 years from now that anyone would know that you ever existed? And without that, can anything you do in life really matter? It was a cruel question to ask, especially in the fall semester when darkness descended early and the impending holidays created their own anxieties. Perhaps it's even more cruel to pose this question at your commencement celebration. And yet here we are. Though I never revealed this to my own students, I can tell you that for me, meaning and fulfillment came in two forms: service to others and baseball. While it may not seem obvious to everyone else, there is an inextricable link. In the grand scheme of things, I suspect my life will not matter. Yet the service I perform for others in advancing higher education, equity, and social justice as a medical ethicist and prisoners' rights advocate does matter to those whose lives are impacted. What provides meaning is akin to the Jewish immigrant experience in the early part of the 20th century, an experience described by philosopher Morris Raphael Cohen as, quote, redemption from the limitations of our petty lives and a mystic unity with a larger life of which we are a part. Baseball also offers what another philosopher of the sport, Bart Giamatti, unveils as, quote, the fostering and betrayal of the illusion that there is something abiding, some pattern and some impulse that could come together that will make a reality that would resist corrosion. In the process, baseball reminds us of how slight and fragile are the circumstances that exalt one group of human beings over another. Whether I'm in the stands at Fenway, PNC Park, or in the broader community, on those darkest days, and despite the inevitability of the game's end, I find meaning in that mystic unity with something larger than myself. My fondest hope is that you will gain a similar fulfillment from the collective endeavor upon which we have embarked as members of the class of 2017. Thank you and congratulations.